So, like talking about the danger this microplastic spread once it enters the food chain, do you think that people are enough aware about this microplastics and the harm it causes?
I think people are not much aware about it.
No,
No.
no, no.
Actually, this is the harsh reality of our society. Although everyone is learning about environment and harms caused by various elements around us, yet people are not aware about many things that are harming our body to a hazardous extent. And this video is to raise awareness about one similar thing, that is microplastic, especially in our food chain.
Yes, we were familiar with this since we are working in clinical microbiology. So yes, we know that microplastics nowadays is a big issue. It's coming in our, different aspects of life. We can find it in water, some foods, packed foods. So these days, this is the problem.
Okay. Microplastics, if I'm not wrong, are the tiniest parts of plastic that help in the breakdown of plastic.
I don't know much about it, but yeah, we see people carrying food and plastic containers, right? Like almost everything is in plastic containers.
I think I'm quite aware about the concept of microplastics as I have read about that in newspaper and also read some reports online. So I think as far as I know microplastics are a little dangerous.
I'm not much familiar, but I have recently heard about it, and I have come to know that it is becoming a very huge problem these days, and it is going to be a huge problem in the coming days also.
Not in the food chain, but environmental concerns regarding that.
If you will just pour anything liquid, hot liquid, then it will just react with the microplastic and it will create problems. Okay, it will just enter into the food chain. Food chain will create a problem because you will consume it, and after consuming what, it will create the problems like metabolism problem, okay, diarrhea, okay. So it is a very not so much serious, but further what I told you in the earlier question, that it will also will create impact on the reproductive system also.
Although we have been learning since our childhood about plastics and its harmful effects, yet there is so much lack of awareness around us regarding microplastics, and that too in our food chain. But what actually is microplastics? In this investigative report, we delve into pervasive presence of microplastics in our food chain, exploring their sources, impacts, and the urgent need for action. Here's a video for your better understanding about the content.
Microplastics. Microplastics are pieces smaller than 5 millimeters. Some of them are used in cosmetics or toothpaste, but most result from floating waste that is constantly exposed to UV radiation and crumbles into smaller and smaller pieces. 51 trillion such particles float in the ocean, where they are even more easily swallowed by all kinds of marine life. This has raised concerns among scientists, especially about health risks from the chemicals that are added to plastic. BPA, for example, makes plastic bottles transparent, but there's also evidence that it interferes with our hormonal system. DEHP makes plastics more flexible, but may cause cancer. It would be pretty bad if microplastics are toxic because they travel up the food chain. Zooplankton eat microplastic. Small fish eat zooplankton. So do oysters, crabs, and predatory fish. And they all land on our plate. Microplastics have been found in honey, in sea salt, in beer, in tap water, and in the household dust around us. 8 out of 10 babies and nearly all adults have measurable amounts of phthalates, a common plastic additive, in their bodies, and 93% of people have BPA in their urine. There is little science about this so far, and right now it's inconclusive. We need a lot more research before panic is justified. But it is safe to say that a lot of stuff happened that we didn't plan for, and we have lost control over plastic to a certain extent, which is kind of scary. Together, we can beat plastic pollution. This video was a collaboration with UN Environment and their Clean Seas campaign. If you want to take action to turn the tide on plastics, go to cleanseas.org and make your pledge.
No idea.
No, we can avoid the use of plastic. The first thing, definitely microplastic is going to be reduced to a large extent.
Being a media person, I would want to suggest that media, as much as we talk about other issues like politics, crime, all that's going around in the world, we should also focus mostly on the environmental issues, because this is what is of the greater concern in the end. And so I think everybody on an individual level needs to talk and raise awareness about these things, because look at me, I don't know much about it myself.
Have you ever stopped to think about what's in your food? Microplastics are everywhere, from the air we breathe to water we drink. They are tiny pieces of plastic less than 5 millimeters in size, and they come from a variety of sources, including plastic bottles, bags, and packaging. When plastic waste breaks down, it doesn't disappear. Instead, it breaks into smaller and smaller pieces, eventually becoming microplastics. These tiny invaders are finding their way into our oceans, rivers, and even our soil. But what's most concerning is how microplastics are entering our food chain. When fish and other marine animals consume microplastics, they can become part of the food we eat. And it's not just seafood. Microplastics have been found in salt, water, and even in soft drinks. Despite the growing body of research on microplastics, many people are still unaware of the risks they pose to our health. Studies have shown that microplastics can contain harmful chemicals and pollutants, which can leach into our bodies when we consume contaminated food. So what can we do to combat these invisible threats? Awareness is a key. By educating ourselves and others about the presence of microplastics in our food chain, we can make more informed choices about the products we buy and support efforts to reduce plastic pollution. From reducing our use of single-use plastic to supporting policies that promote plastic recycling. Each of us has a role to play in protecting our planet and our health from the impacts of microplastics. So the next time you sit down for a meal, remember, the smallest actions can make the biggest difference in safeguarding our food chain from the invasion of microplastics. Here are few precautions that you can take to prevent use and consumption of microplastics. First, reduce single-use plastics. Opt for reusable bags, bottles, and containers to reduce plastic waste. Second, properly dispose of plastic waste. Ensure plastic items are recycled whenever possible and disposed of in designated recycle bins to prevent them from entering the environment. Third, support initiatives. Back efforts aimed at reducing plastic pollutions by participating in cleanup activities and advocating for policy changes. Fourth, be mindful of synthetic clothing. Choose clothing made from natural fibers and utilize washing bags or filters to capture microfibers released during laundry. Fifth, educate others. Spread awareness about the impacts of microplastics and encourage others to adopt similar precautions in their daily lives. By taking these precautions, we can collectively work towards mitigating the spread of microplastics and safeguarding the health of our planet for future generations.